All right, welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin, and today I have the lovely Becky Williams, Miss Mississippi 2024. She is preparing for Miss America. We're going to dive into some things like how did she get started in pageantry? What is her platform? What does she hope to do if she's Miss America? We're going to learn all the things. Okay, Becky, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for agreeing to jump on here with me and share a little about you. So that'll be fun. Okay, so tell everybody a little bit about, why did you get started in pageantry in the first place?
Well, I've been a competitive dancer my entire life. So I started dance when I was 6 years old and I fell in love with it immediately. It was something that my mom did growing up. And so she thought that I would like it. And luckily she was right. And when I was 8, I moved studios, started dancing with my favorite dance teacher ever of all time, Lori Roseberry. And she brought me into competitive dance, showed me what it meant to be a competitive dancer, brought me to my first competition, and I immediately fell in love with that. And so I've been competitive since I was 8 years old. Um, and when I got to about middle school, she started bringing up the Distinguished Young Woman program.
Mhm.
This is before really anyone in my area knew about Miss America's Teen, Outstanding Teen at the time. And so because she was a former local director for DYW, she was like, hey, this is just another way to compete. You get to do dance and you get to learn these skills that you'll need later in life. And so I ended up doing DYW, which is not pageantry. It's similar, but not the same. There are a few key differences, I think, having experience in both things. But once I competed in that, I won Lamar County, won Mississippi, and was top 8 national finalist. And so moving into college and getting, more life experience and recognizing that competing was going to leave me once I got to college, Miss Mississippi felt more real and it felt like the right step to take. Um, so I took it. I was a sophomore when I competed for the first time. But really, I had been hearing about Miss Mississippi for most of my life because I look like Jennifer Adcock, Miss Mississippi 2002. And so I've always gotten that comparison. So that was a good little ego boost when it came to starting to compete. I look like Miss Mississippi. Maybe I can be her. And so my first competition was in November of 2022 and I won my first preliminary and got to go to Miss Mississippi for the first time, and it absolutely changed my life. And now I am Miss Mississippi. So that's incredible and crazy and so awesome.
That's really cool because I met you before, in between. You'd already won your local going
Hmm.
into your first year, but you hadn't been to Miss Mississippi yet. How'd you find out about me all the way in Mississippi?
So we met during my second year of competing.
Oh, okay.
Um, it was right after I won my local with Lexi.
Oh, that's right.
But I heard about you from Emmy, and then Holly too talked about you a little bit. So
Oh, that makes sense. Oh, because you competed 3 times, not 2.
yes, yeah.
Ah, I got you. I wanted you.
Don't
I was.
count the first year.
I
The
was
first year I
just
experienced. The second and third years I competed.
okay. 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 So for first year, did you place?
No,
Okay, got it.
not at all.
Okay. Okay. So, all right, fine. Then yeah, we worked together leading up to Miss Mississippi.
20.
Then, and then again, and then now still. So
Yep.
incredibly fun. What has been maybe the biggest thing that pageantry has taught you?
Mm. There are really and truly so many things. I think the most important, I'm going to say two, the most important two. Um, and it was getting prepared for Miss Mississippi and now being Miss Mississippi, preparing for Miss America. I really have recognized that it's not about me. This job is not about me. Miss America is not about Madison Marsh. Miss Louisiana isn't about that girl. It's about the people that we get to impact. And so, you during our orientation weekend, that's what it's called. Our orientation weekends in February, you would always hear that from the board members. They would always say, you can't compare your year to the girl before you because it's going to be completely different. New sponsors will pop up just because, some will leave just because, new people will invite you to tour their businesses just because, and some people won't invite you back just because. And so I tried to go into this year recognizing that like I'm not going to get all of the special things, but then I may get more special things. But really and truly, it's not about me because I'm getting into the schools and getting to see the kids and getting to impact kids and making sure they have the right resources. I'm getting to go into businesses and talk to workers about their health and their lifestyles and make sure that they have right resources. And then on top of that, getting to meet with colleges and get more scholarships for Miss Mississippi and Miss America participants. So it's not about the experiences that I get to have, it's about the way that I get to change the world. That's the main one. It's not about being Miss Mississippi. It's about what can I do with it. Because I think a lot of people do see the glamour and you know, we are trying to get back to that celebrity status, but we can't forget that it's mostly about changing lives. But then the second one, the more personal change that I've seen is that I don't have to compare myself to people, and those two kind of go together, I feel like. But this one is just the more personal side of things. Like, that was a big thing that you and I talked about a lot my first year working with you. I had a hard time because I hadn't placed and because I wanted to come back and do better, that I was comparing myself to all the top 10 girls. And I was like, oh, well, their community service initiatives are so personal, and her family member went through this and she's going through this right now. And I feel like I'm not there. I don't have a story to tell. And just because I want it doesn't mean I deserve it, kind of thing. And then obviously looking at talents, comparing evening gown walks and just all the things. But through this past year of competing, I was very good about just not looking at other people, not paying them any attention, because it's not a competition between me and first runner up. It's a competition between me and me and me and me through every phase of competition. Where can I get my points? Not where can I get more points than her? And I think that has bled into my life now, especially because I am seeing friends move on to different life paths. I am seeing friends continue in graduate school, and it's weird to me because I'm playing dress up a lot of the time and they're actually doing hard work. Which, not to say that this isn't hard work, but it's just a different kind of life. And recognizing that we can all be successful in our own rights is very helpful for me right now, and I think for the rest of my life. So quit comparing yourself.
So let's double back a second. So you obviously have won Miss Mississippi. You're heading to Miss America. But how do you define winning? Is winning all about the crown, or is it something else?
No, I don't think winning is about the crown. I think winning for me is being proud of everything that I've done and put out. And that's my biggest goal for Miss America. Yes, give me the crown. I would love to be Miss America 2025. I would love to travel the country and the world promoting this program and all that it has to offer. But put me on stage and let me be proud of my talent. Put me on stage, let me be proud of the answer that I said. It may not be perfect, but it's something that I'm convicted of and passionate about. Put me in an interview room and let me tell my stories and be proud of that. I think that will be what the winning is for me. Because this is something that didn't seem very possible for me in the past. And there were days where I thought it would never happen for me. There were days when I knew it was gonna happen for me. And so I think seeing that back and forth of, is this for me? Is it not? I think the only way that I will win is if I go out and not regret anything that I do for competition.
What has been a defining moment for you? It can be inside or outside of pageantry.
Mm-hmm. A defining moment. I knew you were going to ask this because I looked at the questions and I still, like, this is one that I've struggled with. I'll say within pageantry, within being Miss Mississippi specifically. Like I said, there were times where I didn't think that this was going to happen for me. There were times that it just felt like it was too big. But I know that it's not. I know I'm supposed to be here because of what I've been able to do. Whether it's, I'm very proud of the fact that I've gotten Mississippi State to come on as a 4-year full tuition scholarship for the next winner of Miss Mississippi and Miss Mississippi's teen. I think that's incredible because as a lifelong educator, I'm going to promote scholarship opportunities to my students. So to be able to already have that change and be able to impact more women through that is incredible. But when it comes to defining my ability, I guess is the way to say it, the most defining moment for me and knowing that this is for me, was when I got to tour Camp Shelby, and it's in South Mississippi, Lamar Forest and Perry counties. It's one of the largest military bases in our country. I live 10 miles down the road and didn't realize how much it has and how important it is to our country and to our military. So that was a really cool day. But the coolest part, other than getting to drive a tank, that was pretty awesome. I had the opportunity to I thought I was just going in to take a picture with a graduating class of Army National Guard soldiers. But when I stepped into the room, one of the officers came up to me. He said, "Hey, we would love for you to just speak. Tell them anything. Tell them about how important it is to have goals. Tell them how important it is what you're doing and what they're doing and blah, blah, blah." And to me, I was like, "You want me in this sparkly crown and this cute little romper and my sparkly tennis shoes to stand in front of a graduating class of soldiers? That doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel
You didn't feel
valid for
qualified.
me to do that."
Right. And you said to me that he had said something about you do hard things, talk to them
Yeah.
about doing hard things. And you're like, my hard things and their hard things are not at the same like level.
They don't equate.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so my dad was with me that whole day because they wanted a male with me just because I'd be around a lot of men and whatever, safety. And he sat in the back of the room and I could see him out of the corner of my eye. I tried not to look at him. But I did it. I got up on stage and I just from the top of my head spoke on what I thought was important. And it was just, my one of my number one goals is Miss Mississippi because again, I know I keep saying this, but because I didn't think that it was going to be possible at times, was and is to make sure that anyone I come across can see part of themselves in me, whether it's, we look alike, we have the same background, we have the same story, we have the same struggles, whatever it is, you see something of you in me so that we can relate and you know that anything is possible for you because it was possible for me kind of thing. And so when I got up to speak, it turned into one of those messages where, like, this was hard for me. This was something that I didn't think would happen. And this was something that challenges me every single day. And it's something that will continue to challenge me until the end of my reign. And there are people that don't understand it. There are people that don't understand the decisions that I've made. And there are people that don't understand the priorities that I have, just like you. You have different priorities. You chose a different life path than lots of people, and you do hard things that others can't comprehend doing. And that's where we related. And I think being able to not only make the connection, but also like quickly understand, like, hey, this does have weight to it, and this does matter in ways that people don't understand. I think that was a defining moment for me because there really is so much magnitude to what I am able to do and how I'm able to work as Miss Mississippi that I wouldn't have these opportunities had I not competed even.
So let's talk a little bit about what you do and the fact that a lot of what you do is circled around your community service initiative or platform, if you will, Make a Move. So talk to us a little bit about what is Make a Move, how did that start, and what are you doing?
Yes. So Make a Move is my community service initiative. It was inspired by my grandparents' health story. When I was 12 years old, my papa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease and he progressed very quickly. But he fought his fight for 8 years and in 2020 he passed away. But what we didn't recognize while his health was declining was that my Nana's was declining quicker than his, really. Because she took on full-time caretaker immediately as soon as he was diagnosed. And so she did everything for him. She would sit and watch TV with him because she had to make sure he was staying in his spot. She wouldn't go grocery shopping. She'd just get them delivered so that they were always together. She started having my cousins go down and get the mail for her because she didn't want even a second without him by her side, just to make sure that he was safe, because we did have some safety concerns at some points. And so she ended up living an extremely sedentary lifestyle because if Papa couldn't go anywhere, Nana couldn't either. And so when he passed away in 2020, she finally, after 8 years, got to go to a doctor's appointment that was for her. And it was about her health and it was about her well-being. And the first thing that her doctor told her to do was start exercising because her health had declined so much. And so she listened to her doctor, thankfully, and she started walking every day. And it started out, she would just walk down to the mailbox and back, and that would be enough for the day because she couldn't handle anymore. And it progressed to her walking to the mailbox, and then she'd start taking her trash down, so it adds some weight to it. And then eventually she did so well that she would go and walk in the parking lot of her church with her friends. And she ended up losing so much weight that she was able to finally get her knee replaced, which she had been waiting on for about 10 years. And now she's the healthiest I've ever seen her. And so the power of walking, the power of exercise is seen through her because it was that simple change that it completely changed her life, completely changed her health outcome. And seeing how scary and lethal the sedentary lifestyle can be was really eye-opening once I recognized that that was the issue. And so when Make a Move became my community service initiative, I'm also an educator. And so I figure, why not get to the root of the problem? Why not get to the foundation and start with our students? And so with Make a Move, I'm getting into lots of classrooms across the state of Mississippi to share meaningful movement with students. We talk about the 3 reasons why we should make a move and the 4 best ways how to make a move. And it's for our mental health, our physical health, because it makes us better students. We know that there's research that ties exercise and test scores together. We also know that there's a direct correlation between Mississippi's rate of obesity and our access to public parks and recreation. And so on top of getting into schools after Miss America, I'll get into Capitol Hill here on Mississippi and get some legislation going on making sure that schools across our state have proper playground equipment, because that's the best way our students exercise is through play. And so it's a really simple thing, and it comes down to making those small changes because we know that walking is just as good as running. It just takes a little bit more time. But there really are those little things everyone can do to change their lives.
So how many steps am I really supposed to have a day?
Everyone says 10. I think we round up to 10, just 10,000, not 10. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I did 10.
Steps.
I'm done.
Yeah, I got that every day. Everyone says 10,000 because it's just an even number. Everybody likes 5s and 10s, but the real number is just 7,000 steps every day. And you're in good health.
Oh, good. That sounds better than 10.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know why they round it up so much.
But
you don't want to round it down to 5 because then you miss so much. But
7,000 is pretty good. So if I can get 7 in consistently, I'll be I'll be healthier.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to work on it because I'm like sitting down a lot. So
hey, me too. I'm working on it too.
So Miss America's coming up.
Yes.
What is your favorite phase of competition? And is there anything that you're nervous about or stressed about in any way?
You already know the answer. My favorite phase of competition is interview, which is funny because it is also what I'm nervous about. I love interview because it is just a one-on-one get to know me. And there was a time in my life where I was not good at talking about myself, and that was very recently. But I think it's my favorite because it's where I've grown the most as a Miss Mississippi contestant, but also as Becky. I feel like I'm very much better at selling myself, maybe not bragging, but making sure that you know the best parts of me. And so I'm excited for interview because it's been a long time since Mississippi has gotten any recognition at Miss America. And I feel like I've taken the role of Miss Mississippi to heart. And I recognize that, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and getting to travel my state is one thing, but getting to represent my state and the potential of my state that I understand so well as an educator and seeing my students and seeing the kids across our state is a completely different thing. And so that's something I'm going to take in the interview, is making sure that I'm not only there for Becky, but I'm there to show, one of my favorite quotes is, to understand the world, you must first understand a place like Mississippi. And hopefully out of all 52 of us, I'm the one that understands Mississippi the best. But I think, it's a more personal way of getting to represent why I'm at Miss America and who I'm there for. So I'm excited for interview. I do get nervous about it just because, there's no telling what they'll ask, and there's no telling what I'll get in, and there's no telling what I won't have the chance to get in. And there are lots of things that I want to talk about and lots of things that I would rather not talk about just because of the climate of our world right now. But I'm excited for it because it's always a challenge, but it's always a good challenge. So
has there been a time when you've had to create or find, I guess I should say, a solution to a problem that was beneficial to your success? I'm someone's solution, so I'm like looking for solutions all the time.
I'm thinking like before Miss Mississippi.
It could even be something that you worked on to change your perspective on interview, because you said that used to be very difficult for you.
Okay. I think the biggest change I had to make mindset wise in order to grow in interview and in onstage question in really all phases of competition is recognizing that everything in life is preparation. When I was competing for Miss Mississippi this past year, I was also in graduate school and I was on the dance team. And so those schedules never lined up to where I could have just a good hour or two of prep. And so using that crazy schedule made me realize that I have to prioritize prep in everything that I do. So if I was at dance team practice, obviously I'm not practicing my talent, but I'm practicing the skills that are in my talent. So that's preparation in its own right. But when I'm in uniform, I'm also a brand ambassador for Mississippi State University. And so everything I do, all eyes are on me. So I have the practice. If I were to become Miss America, I know what it means to represent something way bigger than yourself. And Miss Mississippi. And then obviously, I never know who I'm going to come in contact with when I'm in uniform on the field or on the court. And so making sure that I'm always on was another thing that was a test for me. But then when it came to graduate school, when it came to being a student still, I didn't realize how different graduate school was from undergrad. But I recognized very quickly that I had to be prepared for anything when it came to class, because teachers just ask you anything. And it's very conversation-based, very student-led, the program that I started in. And so that was interview practice. That was on-stage question practice, because I had a teacher that would ask the most random things about the simplest paper. And I would just have to have an answer ready, because if not, I wouldn't get a good grade. And so really everything in life started becoming prep for me before Miss Mississippi. But now with this role, I don't have a lot of time to prep either, because I'm traveling the state, I'm getting into schools, and I'm touring businesses, and I'm driving tanks and flying hot air balloons. And so how do I prep there, and how do I recognize what is helpful and what is not? That's been the biggest change that I've had to make. And it's definitely impacted my personal life as well, because I'm recognizing how important the little things are in life too.
What's advice that you've been given that you think has made the biggest impact on you throughout your life?
I feel like I've heard a lot of advice. And I think the one that always sticks out to me is nerves aren't always a bad thing. And that's something that you have talked about with me. That's something that my grandfather first brought up to me when I was in middle school. And my Nana likes to say it too. And I keep hitting my table. But, recognizing that it's okay to be nervous about things, and it's okay to like have the fears, but turning that into excitement and channeling it into a good thing is what matters. Because there was a time in my life when I would make myself physically ill before dance competitions, because I just wanted to do perfect. I didn't want to let anybody down. I didn't want to let myself down. And in turn, I would absolutely let myself down, because I would be physically sick over it. And getting ready for Miss Mississippi last year, there were so many times where I would think about talent and I would think about interview, and it would just make me sick to my stomach. But learning how to be nerve-sighted instead of just nervous, because nerves are good. You need the energy, you need the adrenaline, but you don't need the bad things that come with it. That's the best advice.
Yeah, you can be nervous and excited at the same time. It'll all work itself out. So we worked together for 2 years. You were also a Patreon member. So because we're going to do a Patreon episode right after this that we're going to post on the She Wins Solutions for Pageantry Patreon. Can you do a little mini commercial for Patreon since you've stayed on for so long? Like, what is it that you like about it? What do you want to tell girls who are competing about why they should join if you believe they should?
No, absolutely. Join the Patreon, be the highest member you can, because it's really helped my mindset shift too. I've learned a lot about different systems that I didn't know, but I've also learned a lot about I'm the first to say that pageant girls are not surface level, and I think it's so funny that we're still fighting the is pageantry still relevant question since we've been fighting since 1921 when Miss America was first invented. Um, I think it's crazy, but when you join the Patreon and you hear the stories of girls from different states, from different lives, from different backgrounds, from different struggles, there are so many things that have opened my eyes to the power of pageantry. Um, it's also in learning about other people and in learning um, about their struggles in life, I've been able to recognize that, the things that I have encountered and the things that have made me who I am are important too. I may not have the big crazy stories to tell. I may not have the sad things to say, but I know that what makes Becky is just as important as what makes her and what makes her. And so getting to hear how girls have turned struggle into success, getting to hear um, how girls have fallen flat on their faces and still made that something so important to them is really inspiring because we're all in this together. And the pageant world is small but mighty, tiny but mighty, and getting to hear all of the different perspectives has been very helpful.
You also took advantage of everything. I mean, I feel like you took advantage of if I had mock interview workshops, you did it. If I had webinars, you did it. If I had, whatever it was that was going on, and all of those things are always promoted to the Patreon members first. And so anyway, I want to thank you for being a Patreon member. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. And I'm grateful to be a sponsor of Miss Mississippi now. So I'm able to continue to work with you leading up to Miss America, which is so exciting. And you're going to be spectacular. We can't control results, but I know that you're going to do great. So thank you so much. If someone wants to follow you online, where do they find you?
My personal page is Becky.Williams _ on Instagram, and then Becky Williams on Facebook. My Miss Mississippi page is the Miss Mississippi org Instagram, that Miss Mississippi org, and then Miss America MS is my personal title holder page.
What about your TikTok?
TikTok for Better with Bex, which I need to do that. TikTok is Becky.Will.
Ooh, because Becky will.
Becky will.
Y'all have a blessed rest of your day. Thank you, Becky, for joining. Join the Patreon membership so that you can learn more from Becky. We're going to tackle what is Better with Bex. How did that start? Why did she do it? What has she learned about herself through the process of preparing for pageant competition, and so much more.